Начинаем наш второй доклад. Grzegorz Mazur из 11-Bit Studios расскажет нам про разработку игры This War of Mine. Grzegorz ведущий программист. Grzegorz, you're welcome.
So, as friend said, I'm Grzegorz Mazur, I'm from 11-Bit Studios. I will talk about This War of Mine. Presentation is called This War of Mine Under the Hood, but we can't see it, I think. Okay. So, first of all, who we are. Once again, we are 11-Bit Studios from Warsaw, Poland. Of course, we make video games. We entered the market with Anomaly series, which was inverted tower defense games. And but our biggest success, the most important games, is This War of Mine, which will be the main topic of today's presentation. And who am I? I am a lead programmer of This War of Mine, and I previously made Sleepwalker's Journey at the company. And I'm also a lecturer at Warsaw Film School, where I teach game programming. And in the evenings, I'm amateur musicians. I even recorded some guitar tracks for a game. Here's my email and Twitter if you want to talk or have any more questions about This War of Mine. Feel free to send a message. And okay, what is This War of Mine? How many of you are familiar with the game? Okay, most of you. So to be sure that everybody knows what we'll be talking about, I will show you a video of a gameplay. Because it will be our main topic. Okay. No, not this one, this one.
For soldiers, war is about victory. For us, it was about getting food. I lived through hell with these people. We were a group. We would do anything to stay alive. I will never forget those days. Things you see in war stay with you forever.
A kiedy przyjdzie także po mnie zegarmistrz światła purpurowy, by mi zawełtać błękit w głowie, to będę jasny i gotowy. Spłyną przede mnie dni na przestrzał, zgasną podłogi i powietrza. Na wszystko jeszcze raz popatrzę i pójdę, nie wiem gdzie na zawsze.
Okay, so thank you. This is basically it. It's a game or experience, as we are calling it, about civilians trapped in a modern city under the siege. So we wanted to make serious game about serious topic, because you know, every time when you think about war gaming, you imagine cool soldiers who are shooting at each other, tanks and explosions, but it can look like at war, but there's a whole different side of the wars where ordinary people like we, like you, are struggling to survive the war, and they are not fighting with soldiers. They're just trying to, you know, get food and live. So this is, I think, one of the very first games about this topic. And those guys who are, you know, trying to survive, they will face hunger, diseases, and violence. They need to get food. They need to get water to drink. You need to get some medications, and of course they want to survive. And it's also the main, you know, aim in the game as a player. You have to survive the war. So it's like in real life. We wanted to put as much of the war experience from a civilian point of view to the game. And today I will tell you something about production of the game and implementation of some mechanisms. I won't talk about high-level design, how we raise emotions in players, because it's the most, I think, important part of the game, that this game really raises emotions. I will tell you how we implemented this, because there were some already presentations about that topic. For the first time, I will tell you about technical point of view on this side. So first of all, let's start with a production. It took us almost 2 years to develop the game. And I think a really cool fact is that this War of Mine prototype wasn't the first idea, because we were working on a totally different game with a quite similar gameplay. We are doing it for I think half a year, and gameplay was similar, but it was a totally different team. It was about totally different topics, and after a few months we saw that okay, gameplay is cool, the game is really fun to play, but it lacks some depth and some deep topic, and it's not as good as we expected to be. And one day our CEO came to the office and said about article he read on the internet about it was a diary of a man who survived the siege of Sarajevo, and he was describing there how they were getting food, how they were getting water, for example, how they couldn't go outside of the building during the day because the snipers were shooting at people, so they were only getting out at night. And the same is in the game, if you've seen it. So guys decided, hey, let's make a game about it. It's a really good topic. We should talk about it, because normal people don't think about those other people who suffer from wars. We only think about soldiers, yeah. So we thought that it's a great theme and story for a game to tell the story of those survivors. So we took a step back, trashed half of the work about on this prototype, and at that moment we did another prototype, which was actually prototype of this War of Mine. So I think the biggest lesson from that is that we shouldn't cling to our first idea too much, because it's highly probable that in the future we'll get better ideas how to improve our game. So sometimes we can trash a few months of work, but it will, we can make a better game thanks to this. So and the same was, I think, with every game at our company. With Anomaly, we did I think 3 prototypes to come to the final shape of the game. So it's really good to let the evolution come in. Okay, how about people? The team at the very beginning were 4 guys. The 2 key guys were Michał Drozdowski, design director, and Przemek Marszał, art director. These were 2 guys who were, had the vision of the game and were holding it tight. And at the very beginning, there were only 2 of them. There was a programmer, it was me, and another designer. And we were prototyping ideas for the gameplay, for the story, if it works well, because we never believe with our ideas before we check it. So we always have to check if it's really cool in practice. So at the very beginning we are prototyping, and then new people are coming out to the team. So the average size after the year, I think it was 12 core guys who were working day by day on the game. And of course, there was another, I think, 10 guys in the company who were helping sometimes on the game, and a lot of guys on the outsource. But 12 was this core team. Technology. People often ask about our technology. We use our own engine, Liquid Engine. It was written some years ago by our CTO, and we develop it further with every next game we do. Our engine is ported on almost all platforms possible, and of course, and when a new platform comes in and we think it's worth to port engine on that platform, we do it. So it's not a very big engine. It's good for our needs. It's not universal. Yeah. So with every other game, we have to write new features, and the same was this War of Mine. We had to write a big engine for AI, artificial intelligence, and develop more system of animations. But thanks to that, engine is not so big. We can, after 2 years of work, everybody knows everything about the engine. So it's really easy to modify it, to port it. For example, porting to Android took like 2 weeks, I think, for one programmer. So it was really fast. Of course, we have editor with our engine. If you work with an editor, it looks the same. So it's nothing new. Okay, so jump into the game. This War of Mine. What's the most important thing is that this is the game about ordinary people in a city under the siege. So those people, and both those that we control and those controlled by AI, are ordinary people, like everyday people, like we or you. So we tried to simulate behaviors of those people as good as possible to get the feeling of this survival in the war. So it will be most of time of this presentation. And I will tell you a few things about how we also built a city and scenes and structures. So I divided a system who simulates every person in the game on 5 parts. 5 biggest parts. First is artificial intelligence. Second is a model, which is a visualization of a person, so mesh and animations. The other thing is our life parameters. We are simulating life parameters like hunger, tiredness, and sickness, and more. And the most important part are emotions and character, which is how people react to events that occur in the game, events that are caused by player or by the world itself. So I will cover all those 5 systems, and it's important to think that they are not separated. All those systems influence each other. So life parameters can influence animations, AI can influence life parameters, emotions can influence I don't know, animations, for example. So I will cover those 5 topics. And first of all, a model. I will be repeating this all the time. This is a game about ordinary people. So we are thinking who we should put in the game, and we decided that hey, we should put maybe us. We are ordinary people. We can face the war maybe sometime. So we scanned ourselves, our relatives, our girlfriends, wives, security guard from the building, you know, to have the feeling that these people are real and you can meet them at the, in the street. So every time at 11-bit Studios, when we try to do something, we try to do it as cheap and easy as possible. So since we didn't need really detailed models, we used really easy technique. We used 2 Kinects and a software called Reconstruct Me, which you can use at home, for example, and you know, scan models for yourself. It's really easy. I have a video on that, so I will show you how we put our second programmer of the game as a priest in a game.
For soldiers?
Oh, sorry. This one. Long story short, so okay, so it wasn't that easy. Of course, we still needed a skilled artist who had to fix those models, maybe overpaint some textures and make it look better. But still, it was really cheap and easy, and you can do it by yourself at home. We even scanned some animations in that way. 2 of guys in the company were fighting with each other, and that's why we have animations of fighting in the game now. So it was really easy and fun. Okay, let's go to next thing. For artificial intelligence, we used behavior trees. This is a screenshot from our editor of behavior trees that we had to write, especially for this game, to our engine. I won't cover the topic of behavior trees because it's a topic on a totally different presentation for 1 hour. So I will just tell you that we use behavior trees. And many companies approach differently to this topic. We use behavior trees for almost everything because I'm a fan of using one system to as many things as possible. So first of all, we use it for player characters behaviors because in this world of mine, characters are not only controlled by player, they can control themselves. They have their own intelligence because when you are not controlling a single character, they can do something on their own. And of course, when they are in a really bad shape, in a bad mood, they won't listen to the player. They will do what they want. So we gather the input, we send it to the behavior tree, and behavior tree decides if we should use this control from player or not. So player characters are always steered with AI. Of course, NPCs are using artificial intelligence in 100%, and we also used behavior trees for simple cutscenes, which maybe is not the best idea, but we had those not many cutscenes. They were really simple and short, so it went quite okay. But if we had to do some more complex cutscenes, it won't work. So don't use it that way. And how it looked from the production side, there were only two, and for a few months, 3 programmers at the game. So every programmer had to do everything on the game because the game was big. So we couldn't have a programmer dedicated only for AI. So programmer was only preparing, and it was me, preparing nodes, specific behaviors, small atomic behaviors that can be then parameterized, like speaking a dialogue, fighting, shooting, using item, or other actions like that. And it was designers' work to build a tree with those nodes and configure it. So there was one designer dedicated only for AI, for building the trees, and there were, I think, 2 another who were helping with it. So it was mainly a designer's work. And we approached the topic in a way that we created a large library of small trees, that every tree was doing some simple behavior, like, I don't know, trading, like shooting, like retreating, like maybe harassing someone, like begging for mercy, because it's always like a sequence for speaking a text, walking, playing animations, and some decisions. So we made a large library of those behaviors, and then when we were putting a new person on a scene, we just were taking those small trees, combining it into a bigger tree, and we had almost work done. And I will go back to the AI when we will be talking about scenes, because there's one more thing that it's worth to say. And jump further. Life parameters. Every person is described with several parameters, like hunger, power, wounds, weakness. Of course, every parameter is just a number from, for example, 0 to 100, and if it gets bigger, it's worse for a person. But it wasn't so simple in this world of mine, because we are trying to do as good simulation of people as possible. So we had to implement some few more things, like mutual influence of parameters. For example, if you are tired, then you will becoming more sickness if you are already sick, or when you had bad sleep, then maybe your depression will be rising. So the parameters had to influence each other. Another thing is that parameters, those numbers, are then described as person states, because never in the game we don't communicate with player with numbers or with equations or with some mathematical things. We wanted to communicate with player with human things, like texts. People can those player characters will say about their state. For example, oh, I'm hungry, I'm tired. So we are dividing those values of every parameter on some states. For example, sickness can have 5 states. The bigger state, the worse. And every state has some influence people. For example, influence animations, and I will show you that. And they are also written on a description of a person, as you can see. For example, slept poorly and hungry. It means that they are on level 1st of hungry. So the parameter is somewhere between 20 and 40. But we don't tell the player about 20 and 40, we tell that he's hungry. It's really important. And of course, there's one more thing: deterioration of state. When one parameter reaches some specific state, they can deteriorate by themselves. If, for example, you are slightly wounded and you won't do anything about this, then with a few days you will become more wounded, and then you will die. So parameters can also have their own simulation. So here's a, I hope it's, do you see anything? Oh no, so I will just describe you. This is a configuration of one of the parameters from code. Okay, so if you don't see it, it's no sense. So it's like it's specifically configuration of wounded parameter. We have a table of described levels of a parameter, and for example, on level 2 we have power is lowering down by 12, or at third level wounded the power lowers by 40, and shoot probability is lowering. So this is the way we are configuring the mutual influence between parameters. There was also table tick called tick, which was describing how the parameter can deteriorate by itself during the next days. And the last table is I think the most interesting, which is a table with animation tags. We can put some what we call animation tags to the animation system on specific levels of every parameter, and then when we try to play animation on a person, the system looks what's the animation, and then looks at what tags, animation tags, are added to the person. So for example, if you want to play animation of walking, system looks if we have some other tags who can affect it. For example, if we are weak and wounded, it will play other version of animation. If we are tired, it will play other version of walking. If we are depressed, it will play other version. So this is the place where live parameters affect animations. So it will just put some tags to a system, and system will try to pick the most fitting animation. So it's the next way of telling the player in what shape is a person, by animations. Okay, so other important topic, I think the most interesting, emotions. We wanted to, of course, simulate emotions. Emotions are a way of people reaction to events that occur in a life and in a game. So we divided every event on two perspectives, because you can be participant of an event or the observer of events. So every event is changing depression of people. So we put different depression modifier for participants of event and different for observers of event. For example, if we are go for scavenging for food and we will kill someone, then the guy who actually killed the other guy will be more depressed than the other guys in the home that will only hear about it. So we had to configure it all. So there were a lot of events, like 50 or 60 events in the game. Each of them can differently affect all of our people, and of course differently participants of the event and differently observers. And there's a second level of those events. If depression rises for some guys at home, in our home, then they can have emotional reaction, a trauma. So, for example, if things are going really bad, someone can commit suicide or start, being addict to alcohol, or just run away, or steal things from us and run away. So there are a lot of different emotional reactions, and there are also events in the game. So if there are a lot of bad events, they can, do some more events that will happen to people. So they are also affecting depression of the people in a home. But it's really far more complicated, because it wasn't enough for us, because every person in a specific way behaved the same. So if we are going with a woman for killing or with a guy for a killing, it was the same reaction. They were depressed, but maybe they should be, depressed in a different way. So we decided to implement individual reaction based on character. So every every playable character have its own psyche, its own way of behaving. For example, egoist, survivalist, altruistic, homie. And so with every event we have two perspectives, owner and, not owner, observer and participant. And in those divisions we also divide those those modifiers on different psyches. So different behave egoist differently will behave, for example, altruistic when some of the events will occur. And it's even more complicated because we implemented also psych evolution. So if you are, we have, for example, you are egoist, you can become insensitive egoist or aggressive egoist. So, and with all those evolutions, there can be also different reaction to events. So it's a huge amount of data. And as you can see, it's a screenshot from an editor where we were configuring those depression modifiers, and it was quite impossible for designers to balance it well, because it was impossible to compare values between different events, because this is just a small part of configuration of one event, which is suicide. So there were thousands of modifiers to write. So we decided to read it from data sheets, not to put it directly in editor. So technically it was a large multidimensional matrix of parameters, and when we put those parameters in the data sheets, it was far easier for designer to work on this. They were even able to write their own equations and simple rules directly in data sheets. So they didn't need a programmer for this. If a game was reading all the data from data sheets, they can write their own equations and apply it to those cells in a sheet they wanted. So it was really good idea, and I regret that we used the datasheet only for this one thing and that late. So it's a good advice to use datasheets all the time in all configurations of the games. For example, if you have many items in the game, every item has different damage or different parameters, put it in a datasheet, write the rules in a datasheet and just load it to the game. It's really easier to work when we have a lot of entries in some tables. Okay, so let's jump to the world. When we are building a scenes, at most times we try to separate work of designers and artists, because they are thinking about different things, and from the very beginning we start with design of the scene. So scene have to make a sense, scene have to make a story, a specific story. So we always start with design, and it looks like this. So designer starts to take some small chunks of world and build the buildings from this, so we can stretch those floors and duplicate them, and he doesn't bother how it looks like, because it's an artist thing to do it earlier. So we have some prototypes for floors, doors, stairs, ladders, and we built a level from this. And if it works well, if a gameplay is cool here, if you have some tactical situations here, because it's also important, because there's a combat in a game. So when it plays good, we are adding at this time items that can be used by characters, both player character and NPCs. So these items are already telling some story. For example, somewhere we have a bedroom, somewhere we have a kitchen, and other things like that. Of course, there have to be so much items that will be good for a player to come there, to scavenge, to find some things, and take it home. So we test here a functional side of a scene, and then happens a quite interesting thing about artificial intelligence, because at that moment we are placing characters in a scene, and we are configuring their behavior trees. We are building from that library of small trees, and this approach is quite good, but it's not enough, because sometimes when we have some universal persons, like for example soldier or old guy or a beggar, then we want them to behave in 90% the same on every scene, but there are 10% that should be different on every scene. For example, one guy who is walking around the scene If there's a window, he could go there, open the window, smoke the cigarette, say something. But where there is no window, he could, go to a fridge and take something to eat, or just sit with a friend near the table and play cards. So these are the parts of the intelligence that are connected with a scene, not with a character. So we used something we called smart items. These are items in a scene that have something like their own intelligence. So we can put a behavior tree in a window, put a behavior tree in a fridge or in a table, and then every character can reach a specific place in a tree where he finds the closest smart items in the scene, and he goes there and runs the behavior tree connected to that item. So we place some of the intelligence not in the characters but in a scene. It's a really cool approach because you can still have universal characters, universal AI, and make it behave quite differently on a different scenes. So it's really good. And when this is working well, when NPCs are good, when level tells the story by its gameplay, because it's really important. This is the first moment when the level is delivered to the graphics, to the artists, and they just making the models and put it in the game. So this is the same scene, and it looked like that even now when we are doing an update and doing some new scenes, we work like that with placeholders, and in the end we just give it to the artist to make a visual part of the scene. So they are just hiding all the things that designer put on a scene, and they are doing their own meshes, their own models, and put it on a scene. So as you can see here, we have small simple rooms with only simple walls, and then when it's ready, when the sizes of the rooms are good and items are in a good place, the artist can think how to make it more like in reality. So there are some different looking walls, different looking floors, there are some things around the room. So this is the time when we can put some cool graphics. Of course, there are many iterations when the level comes from designers to graphics. Graphics will do some things, but designers can change it, and graphics will change it once again. So there are a few iterations, of course, but the very beginning is just working on placeholders, and we do it all the time. So I think it's a good idea to approach this way on building scenes. And I will add maybe something more about. I will get back to the emotional thing. It's connected with this world, because it's a bit complicated. Okay, so there's a lot of data on what we should do this. Maybe you were watching, or you just were playing by yourselves the game. So every time when we start the game, we can have different characters, and thanks to that, when we do even the same things or in a slightly different sequence, we will get whole different story in a game. So thanks to that, thanks to those different depression modifiers on every character, when we'll do something a bit different, we'll have different story. And look, you can see it when playing the game. And it's thanks to that mostly, because every person will behave differently, even in the same events or in the same state of world, and it's the same in the reality. So we wanted to create as good simulation of the people as possible, and it's a bit connected with also those levels, because when something happens, we also preparing some variation of the levels. So, for example, if we go to the scene where are two old guys, old couple, and we will, for example, rob them, then when we'll go back in a few days, the scene will change a bit, and there won't be those guys. Maybe they will be sleeping or be dead in the bed. So this will change, and also there will be different modification of depression of people in our home. So every time when we do something other, the game will answer us in a different way. For example, if we will help those old couple, it will have totally different results. So people in our home will be in different shape, and scene will change in a different way. So that was about it. So, okay, I think that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Вы можете задавать вопросы по-русски, я буду стараться переводить. Окей, руки.
Я хотел бы спросить, насколько велика была роль случайных вещей в поведении персонажей и в игре вообще? Ну, против вот каких-то заданных правил и при определенных случайных вещей, случайной генерации.
What was the role of the occasional events in the game? Sorry? Повтори еще раз, пожалуйста. Пытаюсь понять.
What was the role of random events in character behavior?
I'm sorry, I haven't heard you because the speakers are not citing. You ask about random events. What was the role? We did some randomization. For example, the trauma events were randomizedly chosen. To every time to tell a different story. Well, I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Привет, меня зовут Миша. Я хотел узнать, а каким образом смарт-объекты, вот эти вот, которые расположены на разных уровнях, соединялись с игроками, ну, с персонажами, и мог ли персонаж каким-либо образом влиять на этот объект? Ну, то есть будет он его использовать, не будет он его использовать.
How does the smart objects was connected to characters and?
И мог ли каким-либо образом персонаж влиять на этот объект, как он его будет использовать, изменять его поведение?
And how can character influence on this object?
How can character influence smart object?
Yes.
Yes.
It worked in a different way, I think. Okay. So somewhere in the behavior tree of every person, there's a place where it can run a smart object, but there's always those three connected with the smart object, and there's a behavior connected with that item. So it doesn't have to influence this object, but it can be also, of course, playing animation on this, like maybe removing it from the scene or just destroying this. So there different actions can be connected with this object. Were you asking about how can we influence smart object? There wasn't one way. So what we were implementing that behaviors that we wanted to be in that scene. So if it would be in, for example, window, we can open it. So it's connected with the specific item. So we can do all we want.
Next question is.
Yes, sorry, I'll speak English because my Russian isn't really that good. You were talking about the data sheets and about the sheer number of things that the designers have to balance and everything. Where did you guys find some, I would say, reasonable limit of what the designers can still, focus on when they're doing multi-parameter optimizations? Did you guys have to, for instance, split the game mechanics into something like a core thing, which was very easy to optimize and very easy to balance, and then go to, these like supplemental items? How were you working with these big data and the data sheets?
I think we were at the very beginning. We were trying to, to put whole system in a work some way, and then we are going into details. So the first time we were maybe trying to, for example, on these events, we were trying to do only few events that will work good, and then we are trying to, make a variation of those who have different modifiers. So if at the very beginning we can put, for example, 10 events, like very different, like killing someone or getting hungry or something like that. And if it works well, then we can spread those. For example, killing someone on a scavenge, killing someone because they came to our place or something like that. So we are starting with only few entries, and it's a good. We can still configure it in the engine, so we don't need datasheet on that moment. But when we divide those events on many different variations, then we will need those data sheets to make it good, to balance it.
Следующий вопрос здесь.
What was the most difficult part of the game development in this War of Mine?
From my point of view, the most difficult was to make a good artificial intelligence. It took us a lot of work, and there are still bugs in this, I must admit it. So we put a lot of work, but because the team was quite small for this big game, so we have to, for example, I couldn't help as a programmer as much as I wanted to for making of artificial intelligence. It was all a designer's work. So there are some problems with this, and I think that was the most difficult thing to do.
Два последних вопроса, наверное.
Тогда здесь.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you for very, very great games. It's very cool. And can you say something more about tuning parameters of cost, some things that we can make in the games, beds, tables, and something of this? How you tune, how you compute these parameters, costs, how much it costs?
You telling about crafting?
Yes, yes.
About balance?
Yes. Time, cost, time of making things, how you tune it, how you compute these things.
Okay, we did a lot of tests on players, how when it's, because system has to work good, it has to be, from an economical way, maybe it will be good, because you have certain amount of things on levels you have to gather. So at the very beginning, we are trying to do it as realistic as possible. So if there is a bed, so it will need, 4 woods and something more. But in the end, we have to go from reality more to good gameplay. So this crafting was a balance between doing something that is still quite realistic and it will still be a good game. So it's not, with crafting, it wasn't possible for us to make it 100 realistic, so we have to cheat at some points with amounts of things that will needed to craft a thing, because we can go to a realistic when we have a lot of those items, but we had only few of them because it's not a game only about crafting. So we went more to a good gameplay than to good reality in this specific thing.
Hi, my name is Alex from Play. First of all, thank you for this splendid game. I have one question. How you decided the effect that causes to the different people? So basically, when you steal something from old couple, probably they will die.
Yeah.
In the same moment, if you steal something from the people that live in the damaged school, they still will live. It's like a feature or like...
It's like a feature, yes, because when you steal something from someone, it don't always will end in a death of somebody. So we are doing it on every scene differently, so to make it, different story. Yeah, but old couple maybe can't find food by themselves, and the other people could, for example, go outside to another place and find some food. So old couple can die because of that, and they were also one of those was ill, so they can't leave their home, and the other people at the other location, they can move and they can find food. So it was we are doing on every scene differently. And thanks to that, you couldn't expect what will happen after, stealing from old couple, they died. So you are going to other place, they steal, and they are still alive. So, and
Surprise.
The same is with reality. So you can expect it.
Hello. Could you cover more about creative process of character animation in the game? Did you use motion capture or make it from the scratch?
Animations. So we bought some large libraries of animations, but we had also some done motion captures to gather motion. So we are doing also with those two Kinects. We are able to gather some simple animations in that way in our office without high-tech, expensive things. So most of them were from motion capture or just from some libraries of animations.
And the last question.
About the characters and these items. For example, if I'm, I don't know, frustrated and I see a gun, is it possible that I can't take this gun in the game, like, anymore? I mean, or I can take any item, or... for example, I'm in depression, and I don't want to shoot anybody anymore.
Okay.
And I see a gun. Will I take it in the game, or character will say that not
okay,
I don't want
there's no such mechanism. So you can always take an item and do something, but you will make it worse. So if a guy is really depressed and he's a character that he doesn't want to kill somebody and you will do it, then he will have a large bigger depression after that. So that's why we did those psychs and different modifiers in different events for different characters. So, and maybe, you know, after that, next night he will run away from your home and you can't play him after that. So you still can do it, but it will have a big influence on that guy.
Thank you, Grzegorz.
Thank you very much.
We will start in 5 or 10 minutes when the next speaker will be ready.